The rain had stopped almost an hour earlier, but the house still carried that damp, heavy silence that always settled after a storm. I stood in the hallway outside the laundry room with a mug of coffee I'd forgotten to drink, listening to the washing machine hum through another cycle. Then I heard a voice. "Please, just give me a little more time. I can't let him find out." It was Elena. For 2 years she'd worked in our home, and in all that time I'd never heard fear in her voice. She was always calm, almost invisible, moving through the house with quiet efficiency. But now every word sounded strained, as if she were trying not to cry. I should have walked away. Instead, I stayed where I was. "I know," she whispered into the phone. "I'm trying. If I lose this job, I lose everything." The floor creaked beneath my foot. She spun around so quickly that her phone nearly slipped from her hand. Before I could say anything, she shoved a thick manila folder beneath a stack of freshly folded towels inside the laundry basket. For a split second our eyes met. She looked terrified. "Sorry," I said. "I didn't mean to scare you." "No, ma'am." She forced a smile that disappeared almost immediately. "Everything's fine." It wasn't. For weeks I'd been telling myself Grant was just busy. His construction company had taken on several new developments, and he claimed the late nights and locked office door were because investors demanded constant updates. But lately he'd become someone I barely recognized. He never left his phone unattended anymore. He stepped outside whenever it rang. He started sleeping with it on the nightstand instead of charging it in the kitchen. Every explanation sounded reasonable on its own. Together, they didn't. Then there was Elena. She had begun avoiding him in ways so subtle, I almost missed them. If he walked into the kitchen, she'd suddenly remember laundry upstairs. If he asked her to organize files in his office, she'd wait until I was nearby before going inside. At first I convinced myself I was imagining it. Now I wasn't so sure. That evening, Grant came home carrying an expensive bottle of wine. "Thought we'd celebrate," he said, kissing my forehead. "Celebrate what?" Big investment finally came together. "What investment?" He hesitated for only a heartbeat. "I'll tell you once everything's finalized." It wasn't the answer that bothered me. It was how quickly he smiled afterward, as if the conversation had already ended. Later that night, while he slept, I lay awake replaying Elena's frightened voice. "I can't let him find out." Find out what? The ugliest explanation arrived first. An affair. It would explain the secrecy. It would explain the fear. It would explain why she'd hidden whatever was inside that folder. The thought made my stomach twist. For the next 3 days, I watched both of them more carefully than either realized. Grant barely acknowledged Elena unless he needed something. When he did, she answered politely, but never looked him in the eye. Once, I watched him step into the pantry while she was stocking shelves. Seconds later, she came out looking pale. When she saw me, she immediately busied herself wiping an already spotless countertop. Something wasn't right. But I still couldn't tell whether she was hiding something from me or hiding from him. On Friday evening, Grant announced he had to drive to a construction site 2 hours away because of an emergency inspection. "At 10 o'clock?" I asked. "The city's behind schedule." He didn't sound convincing. After he left, I waited until his taillights disappeared beyond the front gate. Then I walked straight to the laundry room. The basket was exactly where I'd last seen it. For nearly a minute, I simply stared at it. If I opened that folder, there would be no pretending anymore. Either I would discover proof that my marriage was collapsing, or proof that I'd allowed suspicion to poison my own judgment. With trembling hands, I pulled the folder free. Across the front, stamped in bold red letters, was a single word. Confidential. Inside lay dozens of papers. Most were financial statements I didn't recognize. Then one page stopped me cold. It was a loan application. My name appeared beside Grant's. Our address was correct. Our joint account numbers were correct. At the bottom was my signature. Except I had never signed it. My pulse thundered as I stared at the page. The handwriting looked almost perfect. Almost. Then another document slipped from the folder and landed on the kitchen floor. It wasn't a bank record. It was a photograph. Grant stood outside an unfamiliar townhouse, smiling beside a woman I'd never seen before. On the back, written in blue ink, were 4 words that made my blood run cold. Our first home together. I didn't sleep that night. The loan application lay on the dining table beside the photograph, and I must have read both 100 times before sunrise. Every time I looked at the signature, I hoped I'd somehow remember signing it. I never did. When Grant came home, just after 6 in the morning, I had already hidden everything exactly where I'd found it. He looked tired, but not like someone who had spent the night at a construction site. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Fine," I said. He studied my face for a moment, as if trying to decide whether I knew something, then smiled and headed upstairs to shower. For the first time in 12 years of marriage, I realized I no longer trusted the man sleeping beside me. The next afternoon, I found Elena trimming hedges in the backyard. "Can we talk?" I asked quietly. She froze. I'm working. It'll only take a minute." She glanced toward the house before following me onto the back patio. I didn't accuse her. I simply slid the photograph across the table. Her face lost all its color. "You found the folder." I nodded. "Who is she?" "I don't know her name," Elena whispered. "I've only seen that picture." "And the loan?" She looked away. "I shouldn't say anything." "Why?" Her voice shook. "Because he knows exactly what to threaten." For several long seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she took a deep breath. 3 weeks ago, he asked me to clean his office. A folder had fallen behind a cabinet. I picked it up because I thought it belonged in the filing cabinet. She swallowed hard. "Before I could put it back, I saw your name." "So he caught you?" She nodded. He asked what I'd seen. "What did you tell him?" "The truth, just the cover." "And?" He smiled. The way she said it sent a chill through me. He told me accidents happen when employees become curious. Then he reminded me my work permit paperwork was complicated. You believed him. I didn't know what to believe. Her eyes filled with tears she fought to hide. I have family depending on me. I couldn't risk everything. For the first time, I saw what fear had done to her. She wasn't protecting Grant. She'd been trying to survive him. I wanted to march into Grant's office that instant. Instead, I called a lawyer. She listened without interrupting, then asked one question. "Can you prove you didn't sign those documents?" "I know my own signature." "In court, you'll need more than certainty." By the end of the meeting, I understood something important. Suspicion wasn't evidence. If Grant had forged financial documents, confronting him too soon would only give him time to destroy records. So, I waited. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. For nearly 6 weeks, I acted as though nothing had changed. I smiled through dinners. I listened to stories about meetings that probably never happened. Meanwhile, my attorney quietly subpoenaed bank records. A handwriting examiner compared my genuine signatures with the loan documents. The results took time. Far more time than television dramas ever admit. Every day felt like walking across thin ice. Then, one Thursday afternoon, my phone rang. "We have enough," my attorney said. Just 4 words. Enough to make my knees buckle. The report concluded there were significant indications the signature had not been written by me. The bank had also identified irregularities in the loan application process and referred the matter to its fraud department. It wasn't a conviction. But it was the beginning. I chose Sunday dinner. Grant insisted on hosting his parents once a month, and his business partner Daniel always attended with his wife. Halfway through the meal, Grant raised his wine glass. "I've got good news," he said. "One of our investment properties is finally paying off." I placed the folder beside his plate. "Then, this seems like the perfect time." His smile faded as he opened it. He recognized the documents instantly. Daniel leaned closer. "What is this?" "A loan application," I answered. One that carries my name and a signature I didn't write. Silence settled over the table. Grant looked at me. We'll talk about this later. No, I said evenly. We've done later for long enough. I laid the photograph beside the paperwork. Then another envelope. Inside were the preliminary handwriting report, copies of bank correspondence, and a letter confirming the fraud investigation had begun. Daniel slowly closed the folder. I didn't know about any of this. I believe you, I replied. Grant stood so quickly his chair scraped across the floor. This is ridiculous. Is it? I met his eyes for what felt like the first time in years. You spent months assuming no one would ask questions. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. No clever explanation. No reassuring smile. Only silence. Outside, thunder rolled again in the distance. This time, it wasn't the storm I was afraid of. It was the truth that had finally stepped into the light.